Hello gamers, in a previous video I showed you how to undervolt a 40 series graphics card. In this video I'll be showing you how to overclock a 40 series card. The card I'll be using is a 4070 Super and I'll be using MSI Afterburner to perform the overclock. You may also have seen my previous video on how to unlock the voltage slider on MSI Afterburner. We'll be making use of that slider in this video. But before I get into the MSI Afterburner stuff, I'm going to give you a quick demonstration on how to use the NVIDIA overclocking method. So without further ado, let's get started. So as promised, I said I'd take a quick look at the NVIDIA app and show you how to do a mild overclock from there. So let's open the NVIDIA app. I'm going to open it from the icon tray. Right click on the icon and select NVIDIA app. Once you're inside the NVIDIA app, you need to navigate to the system icon, then the performance tab, and flip this switch here. Now this is going to take a little bit of time while it scans your system. So I'll see you when it's done. Okay, so that's finally done after some time. And we have our results. So you can see here that we've overclocked the GPU by 136 megahertz and the VRAM by 200 megahertz. Now these are really conservative values. They're really mild and you can push this a bit. I mean, your VRAM you can push way higher and you can actually push your GPU tuning a fair bit higher also using MSI Afterburner. So just take a note of your GPU tuning value and you can use that as a base value for your overclock in MSI Afterburner. Right, so I'm going to restore these values because we don't want them. And the next thing I'm going to do is run a benchmark for the graphics card at stock values with no overclock settings at all. So let's go and do that. Okay, so I've opened MSI Afterburner and I just need this to show the on-screen display while running the benchmark. So the benchmark I'll be using will be superposition. And I'm just going to change a couple of settings because I'll be running this in 2K. So now that I've set the resolution that I usually game in, I'm just going to go and hit run. So we're in our benchmark and I'll just take you through some of the values. So our temperature is running around 55 degrees centigrade. That may go up or down a tad. We're running at 96% load. And the core is around about 2,760 megahertz. That may drop a little bit. We're pulling around about 200 watts at a voltage of 1.1 volts. Our memory is at around about 10,500 megahertz. Our fans are ramped up to 100%. And our FPS is a little bit low there. Well, actually, it's gone to 171, but it may be because I'm running OBS. I usually get like 180. Okay, so that's our benchmark. And now I think it's time to actually start overclocking this GPU. So let's do that. So here we are in MSI Afterburner. And I'm just going to touch on these power limit sliders for a minute. It's okay, you can push these all the way up to the top. My card only gives me an extra 6%. But your card may be a little bit higher, a little bit lower. It all depends on your card. And the same goes for the temp limit. Now just bear in mind, if you mess with any of these sliders, your temperatures are going to increase. So you're going to want to keep an eye on your fan curves. You could just hit this button here and slide your fan all the way up to the top. I don't need to do that. I have fan control software and I have pretty steep curves on my fans. I'm just going to turn that off. Now, this core voltage slider, if you want to enable that, just go into settings and enable unlock voltage control and unlock voltage monitoring. Click OK. MSI Afterburner will restart. But if this slider is still disabled, don't worry, I do have a fix for that. I'm not going to explain it in this video, but I do have another video, and I will put a link to that on the screen somewhere and in the description of this video. Now there is some debate whether this voltage slider does anything. Well, it does. I have tried it, and it is actually quite safe to just push this all the way up to the top. It's not going to pump more voltage into your card than your card is already rated for, but what it will do is help stabilize your overclock. If we look at our curve editor, what this tells us is that to reach a certain frequency, it needs a particular voltage. All that slider does is allows your card to reach that voltage sooner. If you do have any concerns about these voltage and power limit sliders, and you don't want to mess with them, then don't. I don't blame you. Personally, I don't use an overclock. I use an undervolt, and I do have a video to show you how to do an undervolt, and I will put that somewhere on the screen and in this video's description. Personally, I'd rather not overclock my card. It probably will shorten its life, and that's not very good considering the prices of graphics cards these days. So with that being said, it's time to get on with our overclock. Now I'm going to start with a memory clock, and this being a 40 series card, I'm pretty much safe with straight off the bat putting in a value of 1500. You can use a slider, but I'm just going to type it in. So just click in here somewhere and type in 1500. Hit enter and lock it in. At this point, I'll need to do another benchmark. So let's open superposition. So you can see this time we have an increase in our voltage. It's gone up to 1.12 volts, and you can see the overclock on our memory. We're now around 12,000 megahertz on our VRAM. You're going to need to run this until the end, and every time you make a change, you're going to need to run your benchmark, run it to the end. If there are no crashes or if there are no artifacts, then you know that this overclock setting is going to be fine. If you do run into problems, I would knock it back to a previous position and maybe slightly lower than that, just to be on the safe side. So we're happy at 1500. Now you're going to want to increase it a little bit. Maybe you want to increase it to, I don't know, by a factor of 50. So let's put in there 1550, hit enter, lock it in, and then again, you're going to need to run your benchmark. If the benchmark starts artifacting or crashing in any way, you're going to need to bring it back again. And like I said before, I would take it back maybe 50 or 100 megahertz just to be on the safe side. So I don't really put mine higher than, for this card, more than 1700. I know that works fine for me. Any higher than that, I do start getting some artifacting. Okay, so that's the memory done. So just, like I say, just increase that by values of 50 every time. You can try 100 if you like. Might be pushing it a bit, but I would feel safer just pushing it 50 at a time. Now let's get onto your core clock. Now with your core clock, you want to use increments of 20. I wouldn't just go into any old value in there. You could end up damaging your card. So just start off really low. Start off with a value of 20 and then increments of 20. So let's put 20 in there. Hit enter. Lock it in. Run your benchmark. Run it all the way to the end. If it works okay, increase it to another 20. Now, I did say at the beginning of this video to take note of the NVIDIA app, what value that used. So that was about 136. So straight off the bat, you could put in there that NVIDIA benchmark. Okay, lock it in and run your benchmark. Yeah, run that benchmark, run it all the way to the end. If it's fine, knock it up to 20. In fact, I would probably say initially take your benchmark and round it up, round it down to the next, to the nearest zero value. So 140. Yeah, lock it in, run your benchmark, etc. Then if that works okay, let's make this 160. Again, run your benchmark, run it all the way to the end. If it doesn't crash, you're fine. Keep on doing that. You know, next one 180. Enter, lock it in, and run your benchmark. Now I know that this card that I'm using is perfectly fine at 230. Yeah, so I can play games at 230 without crashing, and everything is running fine. Now, if you do start crashing, you want to knock this back to say 20, or perhaps a nice even number. So maybe if yours starts crashing at 230, knock it back to 200. So knock it back to a good safe value. Okay, that's my advice, and then run your benchmark. So I know that I can get away with 230. So I'm going to hit that, I'm going to lock it in, and then I'm going to do a final benchmark. And remember, when you do your benchmarks, run them all the way to the end. And then finally, start playing some of your games. Run some of your games. If they start crashing, again, knock stuff down. Try it again, still crashes, knock those values down. It's a question of finding your sweet spot for all of your games. Let's just run this final benchmark, and I'll see what values I get from these settings using a 47 Super. Now, also bear in mind that every graphics card is different. Yeah, every graphics card. They refer to it as the Silicon Lottery, okay? Now, I have a 4070 Super. You may have one too, but that doesn't mean to say that you're going to use these exact settings. You may be able to get more out of it, or maybe you'll get less. Don't go crazy. Try and keep these down to safe levels. You don't want to end up damaging your card or shortening its life. Okay, so let's get into that final benchmark, and let's have a look what values we have.